Today, we're going to decode the PSI exam. Look, this isn't just about what you know from the textbook, it's about how you think. We're going to break down the exam's logic so you can walk in there feeling confident and walk out with that passing score you've worked so hard for. So let's just jump right in with the big question. Are you really ready for how this exam thinks? Because it's not just a memory test, not at all. The PSI exam is looking for a very specific mindset. And trust me, understanding that mindset is the absolute key to passing.
Okay, so let's get into what that means. The whole exam, from start to finish, is built to find people who have sound, safe, and legal judgment. Every single question is crafted to see if you will put public health and the law above everything else. It's really a test of your professional character.
So, how in the world do we master this? Well, we learn to crack its code. Seriously, think of the exam as having its own secret language. And it's a language that's actually designed to point you to the right answers if you just know what to look for. Here's the secret. Almost every question has specific keywords and patterns hidden inside it. Once you learn how to spot these little signals, you stop being just a nervous test taker and you become an active code breaker. You'll start to see what the PSI is really asking you. All right, let's get into the good stuff. We're going to look at the 6 most important keywords. Think of these as your personal roadmap through the test. When you see one of these words in a question, it's a huge signal to just slow down and think, because it's telling you exactly how to find the right answer. First up is the word best. Now, this one's tricky because you might see 2, maybe even 3 answers that seem perfectly fine, but best is asking for the one option that is the absolute most safe and the most legal. It's the gold standard answer, no compromises. Next up, we've got the keyword first. This one is all about sequence, the proper order of things. The other answer choices might be correct steps later on in the procedure, but PSI is testing if you know what has to happen at the very beginning. Think about client protection, like draping, or safety checks, like testing the water temperature. What comes first? Then there's most important. This is a flat-out test of your priorities. You might be asked why we disinfect tools. And sure, client satisfaction is important, but the most important reason is always to prevent the spread of disease. Public health is going to beat convenience or making something look pretty on this exam every single time. Now, when you see the word immediate, I want you to think urgency, emergency. This keyword means something has just happened that requires you to act right now. No hesitation. If there's any kind of safety issue, like if you see blood, stop service is almost always the correct immediate action. No exceptions. The keyword required is pretty straightforward, but it is so crucial. It means the action isn't a suggestion. It's not a good idea. It is mandated by law. PSI expects you to know what is absolutely non-negotiable. Your personal opinion or what you think is best doesn't matter here at all. And finally, we have the ultimate trump card, by law. When you see this phrase, the correct answer is the one that lines up perfectly with state rules and regulations. It doesn't matter one bit what the client wants, what they ask for, or what kind of waiver they sign. The law is the only thing that matters. So let's boil it all down. If you're ever stuck on a question, I want you to just run the answers through this simple mental checklist. Is it safe? Is it legal? Is it professional? The correct PSA answer will always be all 3. This is your guidepost for every single question on that test. Okay, now that we speak the language, let's talk about the traps. And I don't want you to think of these as random or confusing. PSI uses these so-called trap questions to test your discipline. They want to see if you'll choose the easy or the helpful or the convenient option over the one that is actually correct, legal, and safe. So here's probably the most common trap you'll see, the helpful but illegal choice. In this situation, yeah, giving a small trim might feel like great customer service, but it's a direct violation of your scope of practice. The correct professional answer is to politely say no and explain why. Another classic trap is the partial answer. A question might ask for the best way to disinfect a comb, and one answer might be, wash with soap and water. Now, that is a correct step, but it's not the complete full procedure. PSI is testing whether you know the entire legally required process from beginning to end. And you've got to be on the lookout for these other traps too. Any answer that says it's okay because the client gave permission or signed a waiver, wrong. Any answer that has you continuous service after a safety problem pops up, totally wrong. And remember this one,
Being supervised by another professional never expands your personal scope of practice.
All right, let's distill all of this down to two simple golden rules. If you can just burn these two principles into your brain, you'll have the core logic you need to figure out almost any question on that PSA exam. Golden rule number 1 is this: safety beats skill. Always. If you are ever faced with a choice between finishing a service beautifully or stopping to deal with a safety issue, you stop. Your technical skill means absolutely nothing if you can't keep your clients and the public safe. PSI will always, always reward the safe decision. And the second golden rule is law beats client requests. Period. It doesn't matter if a client begs you to do something outside your scope. It doesn't matter if they say, "I'll sign anything." A client's request can never, ever override state law. The correct answer is always to follow the law. Okay, so you get the logic. Now, let's get super practical. Here is a clear, simple 7-day plan to get you to exam day feeling calm, prepared, and ready to go. This isn't about last-minute cramming. It's about sharpening what you already know. You know, the structure of this plan is really important. You start the week with a heavy review of those foundations: infection control, scope of practice. Then you shift your focus to the PSI logic and traps we've been talking about. By the last 2 days, you're only doing light review. And the day before the exam, it's for rest. Your brain needs that time to process everything. Cramming at the last minute will only hurt you, I promise. So when you're actually sitting there for the exam, just take a breath. Read the full question. Find that key word we talked about. Immediately get rid of any answers that are obviously unsafe or illegal. And then trust yourself. After all this prep, your gut feeling, that first instinct, is usually the right one. And before you go in, just remember what you've already done. You have completed a 300-hour program. You have learned the rules inside and out. You've practiced this logic. You have put in the work. You are prepared.